You. Stop it. Hua Wu Dao chided the middle-aged man. I'm completely disgraced by you. Stand down. The middle-aged man was unwilling. But when Hua Wu Dao reprimanded him, he retreated to the back obediently and kept quiet. Hua Wu Dao cupped his fists and said, My obstinate disciple has behaved rudely. Please forgive him. Enough with this meaningless chatter. Get to the point, Mingshi Yin urged. Hua Wu Dao spoke. I'll repeat myself. I have only one objective coming to the Evil Sky Pavilion today. It's to undo the knot in my heart. 3 moves. 3 moves are all I ask for. Realization dawned on Zhou. He nodded and stroked his beard before he said, The 3 skills I used 20 years ago? To be honest, even if he had not lost this part of his memories, he still would not remember it. He had defeated countless opponents throughout the years. He had given Hua Wu Dao enough consideration for even remembering his name. There was no way he could remember the skills he had used during their battle 20 years ago. Back then, I had the greatest defense and protective energy in the Daoist societies, and yet I couldn't defend against your attack. Over these 2 decades, I've studied this matter meticulously while tempering and improving myself constantly. Brother G, you may use any skills you like. I'll only defend and not attack. If I can withstand them, the knot in my heart will be resolved. If I can't, I'll personally cripple my cultivation base and live out my days in seclusion. Hua Wu Dao said boldly. Upon hearing this, Mingshi Yin began to laugh uproariously. When he stopped laughing, he said, What a shameless man! You've only been studying your tortoiseshell technique for 20 years, and you dare come here to ask my master to beat you up. You even went so far as to say that the heart in your knot will be undone if you manage to withstand the attacks. Honestly, you're the most shameless man I've ever met. The middle-aged man was enraged by this. He was about to speak up again when Hua Wu Dao stopped him. It could not be denied that Mingshi Yin had a point. Hua Wu Dao knew that his way of doing things was complete nonsense. There was no one who studied defensive cultivation methods for 20 years, showed up before their opponent, and asked to be hit. Hua Wu Dao, you're indeed shameless. Why don't you give me 10 years, and I'll study your defensive technique. If I can't stab you to death 10 years later, I'll live with my name pronounced backward, Duanmu Sheng said as he brandished his Overlord Spear. The Overlord Spear buzzed and vibrated under the surge of primal chi. It showcased its might as a heaven-grade weapon. While Wu Dao frowned, he felt a lump in his throat when he heard this. Duanmu Sheng continued to say, You've studied for 20 years, and I'm only asking for 10 years. No, 5 will do. The middle-aged man said to Hua Wu Dao, Master, let's leave. There's no need for you to do this. I've told you the Evil Sky Pavilion won't take you seriously. Silence. Hua Wu Dao glared at his disciple. He took a step forward and fell to one knee. He cupped his fist respectfully and said, I ask for nothing else. I know I'm no match for you. However, if this knot in my heart remains unresolved, I'll live with regret for the rest of my life. Please help me undo this knot. Brother G. His voice was bright, resounding, and forceful. The others were slightly taken aback by this. There were those who came taunting, those who laid siege to this mountain, and those who tried to mount sneak attacks. However, this was the first time someone had come here, kneeled down, and asked to be beaten up. This was indeed a very strange sight. A silence hung over the Evil Sky Pavilion's great hall. After all, it was a rare sight for a stately elder of the Yin sect to kneel. Who would have expected things to turn out this way? Please grant me this wish, Pavilion Master. Hua Wu Dao said loudly. He won't. Now get lost. Little Yuaner leaped down from the steps. At this moment, Zhou spoke. Hua Wu Dao, do you really want to undo that knot in your heart? Of course. It's my life's wish. I wish you won't hold back your strength, Pavilion Master. Hua Wu Dao said earnestly. The noble and fiend paths don't tolerate each other, and yet you're pleading with me. Aren't you afraid people would ridicule you for this? Zhou asked indifferently. In the past, there was no distinction between the noble and fiend paths in Great Yen. The different paths are only formed because there were those who intended to ostracize others based on their ideologies. While Wu Dao calmly replied, Zhou nodded lightly. He stroked his beard and said, "In that case, I'll grant you your wish." When Wu Dao heard this, he was overjoyed. He cupped his hands respectfully and said, "Thank you for your help." But Zhou suddenly said in a deep voice, "There's something I must make clear to you beforehand." "Please speak, Pavilion Master," Wu Dao said respectfully. The middle-aged man was pained to see this. His master had to bow and kneel just for a chance to fight his opponent. Years ago, Wu Dao held awe-inspiring authority in the Yun sect and commanded the respect of many. However, today, his master was humiliated in the evil sky pavilion. Worst of all, he, as a disciple, was helpless. What could he do against so many elites and the crushing situation? He could only lower his head at this moment. Zhou rose to his feet slowly. He placed one hand on his back and the other stroked his beard. He said, "First, you have no right to fight me. Mingshi Yin and Duanmu Sheng will fight in my stead. You can try and block their attacks. Second, my time is precious. If you lose, you'll have to agree to one condition of mine." The middle-aged man's face turned red. His temper was clearly about to erupt. Zhou's voice rang in the air again. "Naturally, you can choose to decline." The middle-aged man gritted his teeth. A furious expression etched on his face. He was clearly a middle-aged man, but he's the perfect example of the saying, "The young are fearless." He appeared defiant. Bam! Wu Dao suddenly gave the middle-aged man a kick so hard that the middle-aged man fell to his knees. He berated him. "I brought you here to widen your horizons. Now look at you. Are you trying to meddle in my business? I dare not. If you butt in again, I'll sever our ties as master and disciple." The middle-aged man was stunned by his master's words. He could only nod. Yes, master." Wu Dao strode forward with his hands on his back. He seemed very confident as well. He looked at Duanmu Sheng and Mingshi Yin and said, "I can agree to any one of your conditions as long as it doesn't involve the Yun sect." "Very well." Zhou stroked his beard calmly. Mingshi Yin came forward. He appraised Wu Dao with interest. "On my master's behalf, I'll see just how great this tortoise technique of yours is." He was speaking truthfully when he said that a defensive technique that had been studied for 20 years was a tortoise technique. Wu Dao was not offended. Instead, he raised his right hand slowly and said, "My pleasure." When he said this, Taoist seals appeared on his body. Heaven, earth life, death, water, and fire. 6 seal scripts appeared in sequence. They revolved around Wu Dao at uniform speed. 6 compatible seal. The 6 compatible seal was an extremely complicated Taoist seal. Cultivators capable of cultivating this Taoist seal to its peak were rare. The term 6 compatible was a cultivation method jargon. It consisted of 3 inner compatibilities of the essence, qi and spirit, and the 3 outer compatibilities of hands, eyes, and body. Wu Dao's 6 compatible seal was even more unique. A circle that was roughly 2 meters in diameter had appeared under his feet. It resembled the Taiji diagram that was overflowing with life. If he was capable of cultivating his energy to this state, he did not spend the past 20 years in vain. His obsession with cultivation was apparent. When Mingshi Yin saw the 6 compatible seal, he stopped looking down on Wu Dao. He adjusted his stance and condensed his qi into energy. Energy seals filled the air around him. There were so many of them that they could almost cover the sky. When Wu Dao saw this, he said, "If this is all you've got, I suggest that both of you come at me at once." Mingshi Yin frowned. He leaped and launched his energy seals at Wu Dao. He shouted, arrogant. Thousands upon thousands of energy seals rained down on his target. In just a blink of an eye, the 6 scripts suddenly enlarged. The circle of light under Wu Dao's light grew to twice its size as well. Bizizi, Wu Dao's primal qi and the Taoist seal resonated loudly. Bang! Mingshi Yin's energy seals bombarded the 6 compatible seal. However, contrary to expectations, not only did Mingshi Yin fail to break the 6 compatible seal, but his attacks were also reflected back. Everyone else was shocked. Mingshi flipped around in the air. He stumbled back 3 steps before he finally steadied his steps. His arms felt slightly numb. It was no wonder Hua Wudao had confidently agreed to Lu Zhou's conditions. He did not even regard Mingshi and Duanmu Sheng as worthy opponents. In this round, the defense was successful. Hua Wudao had won. Again! Mingshi was used to defeating his opponent through scare tactics and catching them off guard. This method had served him well. However, his usual method of fighting could not be applied in the current situation. Separation hook and scabbard. Mingshi summoned his heaven-grade weapon. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the separation hook and scabbard flickered in the air. Hua Wudao frowned slightly, but his tone was calm. A heaven-grade weapon. One of the reasons why heaven-grade weapons were so valuable was due to the fact that they could be used to break through energy. Since they could break through energy, it was only natural for them to be able to pierce through protective energy and avatars. The separation hook and scabbard left many afterimages in the air as Mingshi waved them around. Bang! 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 Mingshi focused his attacks on a single point. The 6 compatible seals seemed prepared against the attacks of a heaven-grade weapon. The 6 scripts suddenly shone with a brilliant light before they merged into one and defended the spot that Mingshi targeted. Bang! The energy reflected the attacks again. The more ferociously Mingshi attacked, the more powerful the rebound was. With this strike, he reeled back and nearly crashed into a pillar in the Evil Sky Pavilion's Great Hall. Before his feet even touched the floor, he said in a deep voice, "Again!" Mingshi was truly unwilling to accept this outcome. He flipped in the air as he readied himself to attack. However, Duanmu Sheng's voice rang in the air at this moment. "Stand down. I'll have a go this time." The Overlord spear was raised before Mingshi, blocking his way. Mingshi was not the berserker type. After all, he was skilled in speed and agility. If his opponent hid behind the 6 compatible seal, Mingshi would be at a serious disadvantage. Duanmu Sheng brandished his Overlord spear. BZZ, 100 Tribulations Insight. Duanmu Sheng's 30 feet avatar towered above the others in the Great Hall. He kept his avatar in its energy form, so the Great Hall was not affected. Duanmu Sheng was clearly more powerful. 1,000 waves. The Overlord spear immediately left thousands of clones in the air. When he saw this, Hua Wudao exclaimed approvingly, as expected of the impressive Evil Sky Pavilion. "It seems that everyone has a heaven-grade weapon here." As he spoke, the 6 scripts around him converged into one again. They formed an energy shield as large as the scripts themselves. Boom! 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 The thousands of clones of spears stabbed at the shield. The 6 compatible seal rippled and dimmed for an instant. However, it quickly regained its shine. Daoist 6 compatible seal has all the blessings of nature. I've never seen someone use the 6 compatible seal like this. Zhou Jifeng praised. Me too. I'm from the Clarity sect, and I've heard about the 6 compatible seal. We were only focused on methods of attacks, but we've neglected our defenses. This battle has truly widened my horizons, Pan Zhong said. Duanmu Sheng snorted at this moment. Doing nothing but defend will get you nowhere. Again. He swung the Overlord spear again. Clones in the spear that were clearly more powerful than before appeared. Lu Zhou nodded in satisfaction. He spoke with his hands on his back. Since you know enough to focus on a single point, you should implement it in earnest. Aerial attacks were not too effective against the best defense. Duanmu Sheng nodded. Thank you for the instructions, Master. With the support of the 100 Tribulations Inside Avatar, the spear's clones were moving so quickly that they looked like a blur. Imperfect divine intervention. The ultimate skill of the Divine One technique was unleashed. Hua Wudao exclaimed in surprise. I didn't expect an Evil Sky Pavilion disciple to be this powerful. Alas, this is enough. He lunged forward, and the circle morphed. The exterior of the Taiji diagram expanded. The 8 trigrams surrounded the circle now. 8 trigrams combined with the 6 compatible seal. Lu Zhou was surprised. Hua Wu Dao had incorporated the 8 trigrams with his 6 compatible seal. Regardless of how powerful it was, the fact that he had even attempted this was more than commendable. It was only natural, since he would not have come to the Evil Sky Pavilion without testing the might of his 6 compatible seal beforehand. The imperfect divine intervention was the Divine One technique's ultimate skill. Duan Sheng planned to cast the ultimate skill along with his heaven-grade weapon and 100 Tribulations inside Avatar. For this reason, everyone was confident with Duan Sheng's move. Countless spear clones converged and attacked a single point on the 6 compatible seal. The 6 compatible seal that had been combined with the 8 trigrams formed a peculiar energy barrier. The collision between their energies released waves of primal chi in the air that spread through the Evil Sky Pavilion. The 6 compatible seal is so powerful. Mr. Third has unleashed several ultimate skills, and yet it seems unaffected. While Wu Dao is quite amazing. Pan Zhong was from the Clarity sect. The Clarity sect shared the same root as the Yun sect. Therefore, he knew a thing or two about Daoist seals. However, while Wu Dao's 6 compatible seal had overturned his previous understanding of it, it was only natural since Hua Wu Dao had spent 20 years studying and perfecting this move alone. Hua Wu Dao had come prepared. His objective was to have the Evil Sky Pavilion attack him. If they were fighting to the death, Hua Wu Dao might not be able to defeat Duan Sheng. It's not over yet. Duan Sheng yelled suddenly. When the Overlord Spear was repelled by the 6 compatible seal and rebounded, he spun around and launched another attack. The tip of the spear flashed with fiery red radiance. While Wu Dao said in a deep voice, "It's still not enough." The 6 huge script symbols overlapped. At the same time, the 8 trigrams rose and merged with the 6 script again. It was clear that he had anticipated his opponent would focus their attack on one point to break his defenses. Bzzz. A buzzing noise rang in the air when the Overlord Spear landed on the 6 compatible seal. Everyone frowned. This was like a clash between primal chi. When Duan Sheng and Hua Wu Dao's powers collided, the chaotic flow of primal chi made a huge noise as they spread outward. The sound was peculiar, making it seem like a hybrid sound technique. Everyone quickly circulated their primal chi to defend themselves against these peculiar sound waves. Zhou was the only one who remained calm and indifferent. His heart was void and untainted. It seemed like he was not affected by the sound waves at all as he watched the battle, looking at ease. Bang! The peculiar sound waves disappeared after a few seconds. With a stab from the Overlord Spear, the 6 scripts of the 6 compatible seals suddenly dispersed. Hua Wu Dao staggered backward as the circle of light under his feet faded. Duan Sheng was, similarly, affected by the recoil of the collision. He did a backflip in the air and stumbled 3 steps backward before he finally managed to regain his footing. He looked at Hua Wu Dao with an incredulous expression on his face. He did not expect Hua Wu Dao would be able to withstand that hit. Hua Wu Dao only staggered a few steps backward. Based on this, it seemed like Duan Sheng was on the losing end of the battle. However, Hua Wu Dao was much more surprised compared to Duan Sheng. He did not think anybody was capable of breaking through his defenses. Before he came to the Evil Sky Pavilion, he had tested his technique against more than one nascent Divinity Tribulation Realm cultivator. None of them had succeeded in breaching his defenses. He did not expect to be beaten back by Duan Sheng. If Duan Sheng had been slightly stronger, he would have broken the 6 compatible seal in one go with that technique. He said sincerely, "Nice moves." Duan Sheng, however, was in no mood to hear praises from his opponent. He raised his Overlord Spear and said, 3 more moves." Duan Sheng was the type of person who would fight more valiantly as the battle dragged on. Hua Wu Dao placed his hands on his back and said, "I admit that you're powerful, but you've used up 3 moves. According to our previous agreement, the Pavilion Master should be next." Everyone turned to look at Zhou at this moment. After all, he was the one who laid out the conditions.